Observer newsletter Hall of Fame class of 2024. James, your inductees: Roman Reigns with
Mm-hmm.
66%, Shingo Takagi with 65.6, Paul Orndorff with 63.7, Johnny Rougeau 62.7, the Young Bucks with 61.3, Los Hermanos Dinamita, 61.3, Shima, Johnny Saint, and Bobby Davis. Both Shima and Johnny Saint got 60.3, and Bobby Davis slid over the line with 60.2. Famous manager. I know a lot of you that listen to this show know my mission to get the Junkyard Dog into the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. He took a major jump up to 53.8% from 40 last year, and he's the second man out essentially of the class. So there's a good chance that he gets in next year, and I'm gonna go insane if that happens. So, of course, some other names: Ted Turner, 52%, CM Punk, 52.1%, did not get in. Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, 48.4. Cody Rhodes, 48.1% on his first year on the ballot. The Von Erichs, 47.4. I would think the movie helped them quite a
Yeah.
bit. Mike Tenay, still at his, 41.8. Grand Hamada, that's 42.5. Manami Toyota and Toshio Yamada, 42.6. They were up from 23% last year. Mark and Jay Briscoe.
Do you think that has to do with the do you think a part of that is the Netflix doc or not documentary, the Netflix like biopic of oh my god, Dump Matsumoto, that people are actually like paying attention and watching like some of that All Japan stuff? Obviously, those were different eras. Like that was the era right after.
I think you can't discount that. I do think you have to look at Japan in total, where a lot of people, like, Japan's been cleared out, and a lot of people are getting big increases. You
Okay,
can look at Shima getting in. He got in.
right.
He was at 23% last year. Everybody just looked, oh, might as well vote Shima. He's next. But
Hmm.
there was also somebody else in Japan that, Hayabusa was a big mover
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Hayabusa's like right next to like Punk, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Ole Anderson, 40%. Ole Anderson getting love.
Isn't that because he died this year?
I think it is. I think that is a death bump.
Yeah.
Jim Johnston drops 33%. I just have to assume because he's an asshole.
What did
But
Jim Johnston do?
I don't know. No idea. I think that the U.S. Region was just so competitive this time around,
Okay.
as we can see on here. The Steiner brothers, 32.2%. Tony Schiavone, 30.4%. He's not going anywhere. Randy Orton, 29.1%. After 10 years on the ballot, I don't think he's ever getting in.
I think at this point it's safe to say people like Edge and Orton, like if they get in, it will be after they fall off the ballot and they're moved over to like the old timers ballot or old timer section.
So the only thing I can think of for Edge, he's been on the ballot for 15 years. Like, he should be technically dropped next year, and like 15 and didn't get 50% of the vote. So he might be done for good. I just don't know if Dave didn't notice this. We'll see if he ends up on it next year,
But
or if
I thought there's a secondary section after you get if you get passed up on, like I thought that's what happened with JYD. Or what was going
J-
to happen to JYD. Like
J-
he was going to be moved off to like the old timer section, more or less, like how, like it mimics. Meltzer made it mimic the Baseball Hall of Fame, where like if you fall off or whatever else, you get to go to like an older committee or whatever. So you get to so I believe in the Observer they moved to a different section.
So I think it's just been so many years since Junkyard Dog was an active wrestler. He moves to historical.
Yeah, that's what I mean, historical. Yeah.
Edge does not move to historical because he's still going. So
Well, yeah, right. But what I mean is like 10, 15, 20 years from now, right? Like that's where
yeah,
him and Orton end up
man.
in the Steiners, stuff like that.
John Moxley 26.3%. Bill Goldberg 24.5. Samoa Joe 23.2. Rossi Ogawa 21.30. The Outsiders 21.2. El Dandy, who are you to doubt El Dandy? First year on the ballot, 18.8% of the vote. Iron Sheik, 10-point jump for him, 28.1.
What does that happen? What happened?
He died.
Why did that happen?
Iron Sheik died.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, he got a better bump than some people that died.
Yes, he did. I would like to now skip all the way to Zack Sabre Jr. 16% first year on the ballot. Trish Stratus somehow survives again, 10.9% of the vote. Who keeps doing this?
I don't know, but she was 11% last year. Now she's 10.9. Did she lose one vote?
So less than 10%. This means you are dropped until further notice. You might return in the future, you might not. Asuka, Kevin Owens, Jimmy and Jay Uso, the Usos.
Yep.
Sid Vicious.
Yep.
Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
Sami Zayn, Kento Miyahara, and Psycho Clown. So those are pretty much all the votes. I guess we should start with the inductees before we start making all the jokes and anything else that we got going on. We can start with Roman Reigns. I would have voted for Roman Reigns this year. I know there are people that would not have voted for him, but y'all lost. I think it's just too and don't get it wrong. A lot of valid reasons, for not wanting to vote for Roman. But I think it's just too much. It's just too much at this point, and you're probably eventually going to vote for him anyway.
Right. I was listening to the clip that Voice of Wrestling put up from the flagship, I guess, this week or in recent weeks talking about it. And their point was both of them more or less the general sentiment was, I wouldn't vote for him this year, but if he has another, kind of year like what he's had this last year or whatever else, they would vote for him next year, kind of. And it was interesting listening to Lanza actually saying that he liked Reigns' earlier babyface work in the ring compared to Rich Krace, who didn't. I figured it'd been reverse if I had this guess, but the thing for me is still I remember Lance was basically saying I think he's the biggest. I think he's probably the biggest wrestling star in the world, but I can't prove it. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's the crux of all of this WWE stuff. You cannot separate this stuff, and it's really hard to tell unless you have certain moments with certain people, right? Since John Cena, really, you got your Brock Lesnar, you got your old timers that come in and they pop a rating, whatever else, but it's really hard unless you're Sami Zayn for a few months or Cody for a few months to come in and actually change some things where you can actually point at them and say, hey, they did something outside of the machine and this is actually them, right? That's the reason why Becky Lynch on this thing and it has a pretty high
I missed her before. What did I skip over her?
Yeah, Becky's in the 20s, something like that.
25.2% for Becky.
Yeah, that's the reason why she's on it, because when the man became a thing in 2018 and 2019, she was actually moving business and quarter ratings in a way that we hadn't seen. She was actually for a winter, or what do you call it, a fall and a winter, she was the biggest star in the industry. And those are numbers, and those are things that you can't really do with Roman. But ultimately, with me, when it comes to Roman, and ultimately where he's done, what he's done with this, head of the table gimmick and everything in the last 3-4 years, is I see it as, especially this year, now that he's on the babyface return, and every time he comes out, he gets these pops he's God himself returning back, or Jesus himself returning from the mountain. I'm sorry, Moses coming down from the mountain. Sorry. But it reminds me of the Sting stuff. Why did it take Sting so long to get into the Observer Hall of Fame, and then ultimately when he shows up to WWE, then in pops and quarter ratings for them, then he gets in. It's Sting was always an Observer Hall of Famer. The bookers fucked him over. And overwhelmingly, as soon as the babyface thing did not work well as a top babyface for WWE, and everyone said, just do what you did with The Rock, where you turn him heel first. He has an edge. People will like the edge. You turn babyface. You can print money. It took Vince McMahon and the rest of the powers that be in WWE 7 years to figure it the fuck out. Or sorry, 5 years to figure it out. But once they did, it's a lot of this stuff comes down to individuals' careers being altered by Vince McMahon being out of his fucking mind, right? So like that's a big part of this for me is why it's like, yeah, after this thing what happened when he turned heel and it went off, hey, look where the company is now.
Yeah, it's kind of scoreboard-ish a little bit. It's just like I don't think we should like take it out on this guy for a lot of the way that he was booked. I think he came up short in some of his performances earlier in his career.
Absolutely.
Especially like there's no like face of the company or, you know, all-timer, you know, number one kind of push guy that has a worse big match like WrestleMania resume. Like just stank it out year after year.
Yeah. And then you think about it, it's like, oh, they put him in Brock Lesnar for another time. They put him in here with Undertaker, fresh off hip replacement. They put him in with Triple H in 2016. Like, it was a lot of stuff they did that were, you know, that were bad mistakes. And they were just like, we'll have him beat these legends, and he'll get A status. And like he did in the eyes of people that were you know didn't care about like, you know, the wrestling outside of just the company they're watching, right? The one company they're watching. But if you're watching other promotions, you're like, yo, this isn't great. This is not good. This is like actually like very, very like transparent what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's stuck in people's craw for years. 4 years. So, I mean, it's stuck in people's craw so much they were able to build the second biggest promotion in the history of the business off of the rejection of Roman Reigns.
Notable.
The rejection
historical
of Roman Reigns
significance.
Pushing that dude to be the ace.
Hey,
so yeah, definitely. So for people that say, you know, like I'm not voting for him, still like I get it. It just for me is like I thought the dude was talented, and I thought that, and what's he supposed to do? No, I ain't ready. No one's doing that.
Yeah.
Give me the fucking belt.
Yeah. So congratulations to Roman. Like, you know, it's just, you know, it's such a dramatic change what he is now compared to earlier in his career, because it obviously, you know, he was a super workhorse, and even with this babyface run now, like, what really is it going to be? Because his schedule is so peeled back. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, if there's further benefits on top of this. Like, but I think he's done enough over the past, you know, 4 years or so to get over the line. Kind of in my eyes, like there's a lot of stuff that's just tied to him.
Yeah. And we're both saying this while saying 90% of his big matches in this era have been the shit we have not liked the most from his run like in WWE. Give me his Shield stuff with Rollins and I'm gonna say Moxley and Ambrose.
I think people have forgotten how raw the Shield was.
2016 year when he's wrestling AJ Styles and shit. Like, give me that instead.
Like, it's been so long, you know, people have forgotten like how good the Shield was when they first came in. He was a big part of that. So like that stuff is kind of lost to time. Everybody just thinks Bloodline now, but he's had a whole kind of like career kind of prior to that, and then the things that they kept him doing while he was in above the belt status, and he was like, we can't make you the champion or everybody will revolt, so you got to do some other stuff. Like, a lot of that stuff like was, you know, like if you just look at it, when it came to the matches, they were like, all right, go out there and do something. And, you know, the dude had it in him. So moving forward, Shingo Takagi was a big beneficiary this year. I think he's the last guy of, you know, the golden years that need to be in, and he's in. And
you sure you not finna do the thing?
Oh, he's already in. He got in last year.
No. You not finna go one lower. You not finna say the H in Hall of Fame stands for Hiroki?
I mean, you know, we can have a discussion. You know, look, we can talk about work. You know,
So I saw someone put that in, mention that in a meme. I was like, God damn it! And I know me and Rich both like Goto, and both think like, hey man, he's one of the better wrestlers we've ever seen. He just ain't gonna get in,
Yeah.
right? Because they bridesmaided him. He had a shot. He had shots to if they actually pushed the button on him.
I'm like, look, man, you tell me.
He have a title reign to his name. He might have a couple main events here and there to say, hey, this drew this in Osaka. This drew this in Korakuen Hall. But no.
We'll start making this loose Hiroki Goto case. I'm like, all right, you pull up his cage match and pull up Randy Orton's cage match and let's compare them. You know?
I mean, Rich, you heard me say this for years now. Pull up that Tam Nakano cage match and that Randy Orton cage match.
Get nasty.
And point out that like they didn't really start reviewing Stardom matches for cage matches until like 2020, and Tam absolutely stunk until late 2018. And she debuted in 2017. Why is it so close?
They wrestling
in
5
7s and 8s.
They wrestling 5 days a week over there, James. They running them into the ground
three times. Hey, but you can't say no different because ain't that what WWE used to do? He said I'm about to wrestle, be on the road 5 days a week.
That's true. But Shingo, just one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. Did get his world title run, his headline to Tokyo Dome, a lot of quality Dragon Gate years. Came over and was an attraction in ROH and PWG in America, and then his junior run in New Japan was just awesome, and then just basically like being the next guy after Tomohiro Ishii to just like have that rugged, big man, hard-hitting, fast style. And, you think about the Dragon Gate style, this is a win. Like, Shingo Takagi and CIMA going in together is kind of poetic in itself. I think, like, Shingo's, like, he's just, he's wrestling Takeshita at the Dome. And I think that's going to be a victory lap for him in a sense. And
if he cares about certain things, because some of them do, some of them don't. Like, I've heard, they've had Okada with a translator and Tanahashi with a translator, and they actually cared. They were actually like, "Yeah, I'm in the Hall of Fame. That's cool." So, but some of them, I don't think Ishii gives a fuck.
I don't think Ishii gives a fuck. I think Shingo does. I thought I heard like he's a huge, wrestling nerd. So, shout out to Big Shingo.
Damn, I don't get to say nothing about Shingo.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, look, man. The best match 2019 was him and Ospreay in the Best Super Juniors final. It was incredible. I don't think I haven't gone back and watched it in years, but it was so mind melting. All the shit they did with the whole story of like these two, unbeatable forces, and like the way Shingo had basically cleared out the division, and Ospreay goes out there and takes him out. Has to hit him with the kitchen sink and then something to put him away. It was an amazing match. And like, it was
so fast.
Is that Ospreay's best opponent still?
Yes. I
say so still. I mean, you got a 2 Omega match. Like, I would still say that Shingo's his best opponent.
Yeah, I think he's wrestled Shingo the most amount of times to the most amount of greatness. I think his peak match he probably had is with Kenny or Danielson, but this one here.
I think that's fair. To say.
Like this is like Ospreay and Shingo is like every bit as legendary as Flair, Steamboat, any great rivalry you want to name. Like, and Will's gonna walk in this motherfucker too the day he's eligible, which is not for like 5 more years or whatever. But we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Skip over Orndorff and long fight for Paul Orndorff. He did. He passed, I think, this past year, but people have been trying to get him in for a long time. But the Young Bucks, man. Matt and Nick, these guys. When I think about the Young Bucks, there's never been a tag team that has meant more in the history of professional wrestling than the Young Bucks. Throw whoever else you want at me. How many of them are responsible for starting a major league promotion in the United States? How many of them revolutionized the independent scene? How many of them sold the amount of merch that they did, got in Hot Topic, went to All In, basically, and set up a 10,000 seat independent show? primarily on their backs. They were the gateway for a lot of people into watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were the cornerstones of the Bullet Club at a certain point. They had the insane match quality. Go ahead.
Rich, they also gave Ring of Honor the opportunity to do what AEW did, but then they pussied out and then gave them the door to then run All In, which then led to AEW, and then now they're the bosses. They're the bosses of the company that didn't want to run for them now.
Amazing.
Have you ever talked about that?
It's amazing. They were the team that had people shaking in their boots, shitting down their legs. That people were being athletic in the ring and trying new things or whatever. They are, the creators of something like Being the Elite that got tons of people over, created a massive fan base. They are the team of this or any generation. They are the team that super kicked the door down for Philip J. Brooks' locker room.
Look, I mean, in retrospect, they kicked down that door, and that was the last thing. That's the last bit of kicking that we heard they did. But look, they were like, the super kicks is real strong when it's a work. When it turns to a shoot, not so much. But yeah, man, like
the greatest thing about
they're
this,
well on their way to what? They're what tag team of the year award?
They're 8th, James.
Yeah,
they're 8th. They were always walking in this Hall of Fame. It's shameful that people didn't put them in first ballot where they should have been. And what's even better this year, they get in and they don't need a single retired wrestler to vote for them at all. Haters, keep your votes. Don't need them. Shove them up your ass, Cornette and Jace motherfuckers. Like, I don't. Oh man, it's so dumb. Like the way to deny these guys. I don't want to hear anything about the Uso brothers who fell off the ballot. This debate has ended again, James.
It ended again. I didn't know. I never know it restarted. But okay, yeah. I mean,
look, just slap a little more on top of it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, look, the Usos still got a shot to get in. They just gotta, they just gotta get a match with the Young Bucks.
Yeah, but. They have so many legendary rivalries, matches. They hit all 3 categories, I would say, at a 10 out of 10 rate. Historical significance, matches, and then business. All 3 of them. Out of this world.
Yeah. I've said this for, a couple years now. Like, all the EVPs plus Moxley should be in the Observer Hall of Fame as soon as possible. Like anything else, when they ended up not getting in last year was stupid. Moxley being where he is in percentage is mind-boggling. Cody's going to get in eventually, but like Cody, because this is his first shot. But like Cody should have been in the first ballot based off you include his AEW work. Then what the hell are we doing? So yeah, like Young Bucks, not my favorite tag team of all time. That doesn't mean that I don't think they're not the greatest tag team of all time. They are, because I mean, proof's in the pudding, man. For all the stuff we heard about, how much old timers and everything it is like the Young Bucks and everything. Like, I didn't hear people that after Revolution this year. Did you?
You mean when Sting himself selected the Young Bucks to retire him?
Right. Not the motherfuckers cosplaying as Tully and Arm. No. Nope.
Look, and they cried about it too. I don't know if you remember that, but it's.
I mean, were you expecting them to have that kind of match with Darby and Sting? Because I wasn't. And by them, I'm not talking about the Young Bucks. I'm talking about FTR. FTR wasn't gonna be able to have that kind of match with Sting and Darby.
Yeah, man. It's amazing.
You know why, Rich? Because they're not the best performing tag team of all time. That's why, Rich. They could very well be the second, but they're not the one.
The Young Bucks cage match page is just filled with filth. Go see it, and how many above 8s there are in that, in tags, in
Do you have to
trios.
go to page number 2 to get to 7s?
Oh man, I guarantee you will get to like 130 matches before you get to the 7s. If I had to guess. Just in whatever promotion, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, PWG, AEW, they just glide through. And they've changed their style along the way a little bit, it's just like, I'm glad these guys got recognized for the all-timers they are. And this is like is kind of similar to when Kenny went to Hall of Fame for me, where it's like, are there any last words? Like the non-believers, like y'all can keep non-believing, but you got to look up at the scoreboard. You got to mention Hall of Famer with that. You got to disagree with that first. So, let's talk about some of the non-Hall of Famers. I guess we should start with CM Punk. Jumped from 44% to 52%. He's right on the edge, so he'll be a strong candidate going into next year. It looks like
all he needs is to not get hurt, and he'll get in next year.
Not get hurt, not completely explode, not fight somebody.
Well, I mean, last chance you. There's nowhere else to go, so I don't expect no issues. Like there's only so long he can avoid not going to Saudi Arabia.
Look, don't answer
on that plane eventually.
Don't answer no political questions. All that stuff he got to zip up. If he can do all that and not give the urge to be himself, I think he'll get in this thing next year. But him, the crazy online CM Punk fans, they had to watch the Young Bucks go in this year, and I know that hurt.
In front of him.
That hurt.
Got in less years. A lot less years.
And Roman, which, that relationship ain't, it's not squeaky clean. I know that.
Well, I mean, I've always said that's very similar to the Bret Hart and Hogan thing. Like, Bret Hart should have, like Roman Reigns and Bret Hart should have every reason to hate CM Punk and respectively CM Punk and Hulk Hogan. You made my job harder, you asshole.
Yeah, so they had to feel it. Cody Rhodes, 48.1%. I would think he'll be in next year too.
I think so too.
I think people just had reservations because it was the first year on the ballot and be like, all right, do we want to make him a first ballot Hall of Famer? And I don't think everyone wanted to do that.
Yeah, like is the last person who was the first ballot Hall of Famer was Okada last one?
I think so.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, obviously if he had got in, he wouldn't have gotten like that kind of high percentage as like Okada was going to get going in. But I see why I can see the reluctance or hand holding on it or whatever else. I think it's dumb, but I'm not mad at it because I know at this point I know like it's unless something tragic happens, even then it's tragic. Like don't vote him in for his tragedy, but like he's getting in.
Yeah,
like I think I'm at this point I'm confident Punk and Cody are getting in next year, barring something unforeseen happening.
We actually got updates on those Young Bucks stats. James, turns out I was 2 matches off. After 128 matches of the Young Bucks, you get into the 7s.
There you go.
Not 130. So FTR, you get into the 7s after 27. It looks like for a comparison. So no shade to FTR, but.
And it is time for me to go on Cage Match to be messy. I'm still here.
Yep. I'll keep you riding. But Cody Rhodes, had 2 big major years. Look, Roman Reigns might have got a lot of the credit that this guy kind of deserved.
Might have.
So
I mean, look, Sammy fell off the fucking ballot.
Yeah. That's kind of nasty. Yeah, like Sami Zayn couldn't get Trish's votes. He couldn't get Trish's votes, James.
Hey, bro. Jey Uso, or let me phrase this: the Usos and Sammy fell off the ballot. The people that are literally there every week carrying this fucking bloodline feud on their backs while Roman's not there. Cody, who was the person that actually he had to hand the baton to, not in. Roman's in. Like, it's maybe those numbers change in time in retrospect, but it's like, what happened here?
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing that is like this whole storyline is the thing that is carrying WWE like to this new boom period that they're having right now with attendance and everything, and only one person is getting the credit for it. Kevin Owens is no person that sacrificed. How many times we've seen them Samoa whoop Kevin Owens' ass in the last 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one off the ballot. That's interesting.
Maybe
Like, obviously, I'm not expecting Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn to get in, given what most of their careers were like in WWE. Kevin obviously has a lot better case than Sami, given that Sami never got a title in WWE until like 2022 or something like that. But
they wasted a lot of their careers.
Noted is like people. No, only one person apparently getting the credit to the voters.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is something to take notice of. And then you got to remember, Sami and Kevin, they took a lot of bad booking and got a lot of their careers wasted. Like, and when I say their careers, their primes, their athletic primes, like just caught in nothing, essentially. They, looking at it, Mark and Jay Briscoe, 37%. I think they're going to have kind of a struggle as the years go on. It will be interesting when FTR goes on the ballot if those two teams either help each other or hurt each other. Like if people were like, we're voting for both of them, or they're picking between them. And if they start picking FTR over the Briscoes, I think a lot of people are going to get angry.
I mean, it's gonna be nasty either way. But what I will say is, those are two of the better tag teams, or two of the best tag teams I've ever seen in my life, like contemporary speaking. So whatever. I ain't got no argument one way or the other. Like, do I think they're Hall of Fame level talents in the ring? Yeah. Like, do I think because a lot of them did their work in like Ring of Honor and in NXT, and none of this happened, and none of this really happened on the main roster in WWE? Is that going to hurt them significantly? Yes. I think they're not getting in because they didn't do it in New York or Stanford, whatever you want to call it. Just like what happened with all these other guys that aren't getting in, like a lot of the Ring of Honor guys. So yeah.
Shout out to my man Volador Jr., 41% of the vote there for Mexico.
So who got in from Mexico? Like, how is that going to? Is there a chance he's actually going to get in, Volador?
Maybe. I think so.
Okay.
But Los Hermanos Dinamita got in.
So Rich. So remember I said I was going to be messy on Cage Match.
Yeah.
So we were talking about FTR, right? So Seth Rogen said that FTR on their Cage Match, they get into the 7s after 27 matches.
Yeah.
You want to know how many matches you get? You want to guess how many matches before you get to the 7s on Mayu Iwatani?
96.
75.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Interesting.
She's never going to get on the ballot.
She might. She might, because Japan has cleared out this much. I think it might give her a chance.
Okay.
Now, look.
Maybe she does. Look, maybe she does sneak onto the ballot.
She'll get on the ballot.
She's dropping off the first second she gets on it.
No, I don't think you realize the way Japan is like rolling out and looking towards.
It's bombed out and depleted. I get it.
Like she will get above 10. Like it might take her a while or
Where's
whatever.
Mako?
I think she's like at 22%.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken on that. But I had that conversation talking about just like people that were just around, like the Joshi thing. Like a lot of people were like, how come it's so hard for women to get in? It's like, well, a lot of most of the All Japan women from their prime that had retirement age stuff, they're already in, and then after that you're going into the mid carders. But it's like, what about like the women that were fucking incredible for 10 plus years and have retirement ages, like post the boom period into the dead period? And it's like, all right, Arisa Nakajima,
right?
She ain't getting in. I don't think she's getting on the ballot. Mayu has a much better chance. Good.
She won't get on the ballot. Mayu will.
Yeah, okay. At this point, I'm just like, I gotta see it to believe it. But you're probably more accurate than I am on that. But I'm just so pessimistic on all that stuff. It's like some of these people are some of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in ring, and they ain't getting in, or they're not getting on the ballot. And I mean, it's the, not everybody has access to all that stuff they did, but if you did, So, as far as the in ring side, so yeah.
Randy Orton and Edge, brothers, kind of in this ballot, seemingly. 29% for Orton, and Edge lost 3%, which is kind of crazy. He was 31 and then dropped to 28. Orton, 31 and dropped to 29. I can't really speak for, like Orton's output, and, I think he returned last year at Survivor Series and has been a regular since then.
But he's been on a reduced schedule for a couple years now, and then he was gone with the back thing for a while.
Yeah. And then Copeland kind of did some of the best work he's probably ever done since he walked into AEW, and maybe people took it out on him. You left WWE, and they don't really care what he did in AEW. He didn't draw. Like, we'll agree there if that's their logic. But
he didn't draw in WWE.
There you go.
Right.
So, him losing that, and then, we got to check on that 15-50 thing. I'm still unclear on how that whole thing works. But yeah. John Moxley, 26.3%. I think this is a travesty. And I just don't know why people don't understand it with him in a way that they would for someone like Cody, who got 48%. If I'm looking at Moxley and Cody as candidates, one of these guys has won Wrestler of the Year twice. One of them has been pushed as a world champion in various forms of companies since 2016.
Right.
One of them was over, let's see how many times Dean Ambrose, John Moxley got over. Shield.
Right.
Single act.
2014, yep.
Champion.
2016, yep.
Got over again as soon as he leaves WWE.
Forget that part.
Or New Japan.
No. Him tagging with Seth Rollins redeemed him as a babyface in 2017.
2017. Okay, yep. I don't think they really do anything with him after that. That's notable.
Hey, Rich, it's funny, right? We were just talking about like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Usos as far as like helping out for Roman Reigns' like career.
How much did this guy help?
They were putting Roman Reigns with Dean Ambrose all the goddamn time to keep him afloat when it wasn't working as a babyface in the mid 2010s. Yep. Every single time. He ain't getting no credit for none of that right now.
None. Jumping, to New Japan Pro Wrestling and then jumping to AEW. You would think this is like one of the most important things a wrestler could do for their historical significance case. You would think.
Yeah.
Are people pissed that he left WWE? I can't rule it out,
Do people just think he's a garbage wrestler?
That's what I think. Like, they don't realize.
What I mean by that, do people all just think like, oh, he's like 90s funk and that's it?
Right. Like they don't realize this is a work rate candidate too, and we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. This is a work rate candidate. This is a historical significance candidate. Business. I can't really like make the strongest argument, but this guy's not a complete flop. Business wise, I'm sure you can pull up years where he was like the Iron Man, hitting every town and main eventing, to a certain level in WWE. Right. We saw who they turned to in a lot of cases in AEW, and we've seen Japan strap this guy up.
Yep.
So.
He's the only like I think you said it the trivia thing a couple weeks ago. Like he's the only person to ever be WWE, IWGP, and AEW World Champion.
Yep. Not Cody Rhodes. Back to bring it full circle. Not Cody Rhodes, who had the opportunity. The only other guy that had an opportunity to do that, pretty much, besides maybe Jericho, and they weren't going to strap Jericho up in New Japan. So like, what is it that's giving him 26%? Because if this is the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame, I can look at a 2-time Wrestler of the Year award winner that makes him just like Chris Jericho. I believe Jericho has 3, if I'm not mistaken. There are people that do not... Kazuchika Okada does not have 2 of these, James.
Right.
Kenny Omega doesn't have 2 of these. Right. Actually, I think he might.
Well...
He does. Sorry.
Okay. I'm guessing he got it for 01 or 21, and he also got it for like 2017,
2018.
18. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, this is pretty embarrassing, honestly. On this is and I know people want to be like, I don't want to think about him. Like, why not? Like we're talking about this guy that's been around as a major leaguer for 12 years at this point. This is not somebody coming on the ballot in the middle, like next year, for example. Drew McIntyre is coming on the ballot next year, right? This is not a guy that has really only had 4 or 5 years of success, like a Drew McIntyre. Right. Maybe even smaller period than that when you think about how much of his career was a failure before he figured it out from ages, 36 and beyond. This guy has been over since he's been 27 years old, James.
Yep.
What are they missing?
I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to just like they think it's a Terry Funk routine. Maybe I like it can't just all be he left WWE so fuck him, because like that can't be the case. But it has to be that plus things that like maybe it's a Terry Funk thing, or it's the garbage wrestling, quote unquote, and it's some other stuff that we're just not accounting for. I don't know.
Yeah. Not my favorite wrestler or anything, but it's definitely Sir Sam's favorite wrestler. So I think, Sam, you might want to start getting to work and telling people what they're missing. Sir Sam also says he thinks there are some that don't like AEW. Period. The Bucks being second, going in, their second year says a lot. I can't discount that, but
right. But the thing for me would be like, if you were someone if you're voting for the Young Bucks, and while you know what they're dealing with as far as the negative criticism or disliking, or people will not vote for them based off of their style and also what they embody to AEW. If you were watching AEW as a quote unquote AEW hater, if you're watching it for anybody, is like people like Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho. It'd be like, these are the people that in CM Punk. They'd be like, these are people that really know how to work there because they're from New York and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's not necessarily. It doesn't seem like that's rubbing off on them.
Yeah, I don't think Moxley's getting that because Moxley's like you can look at it. He's the first guy to really jump to leave in the middle of his prime, and it's like you jumped it all off. Like, and you ruined your career. You could be here with Roman, and. There's nastiness going on with this. I feel it. No,
there's definitely no way this is kosher, because it don't make no sense. He's been too good. He's been too good the last 5 years. Like we're at a point now where there's been a half a decade of him being one of the last half decade. There's no way he's not been a top 10 wrestler in the world. Like you throw in like the PWI kayfabe side of it, you throw in the match quality, you throw in like the accolades.
What am I missing? Man. I don't know what I'm missing. There's no way
there's been 10 wrestlers like more that have that kind of PWI and match guide combination in the last 5 years. There's no way.
Look, and the Observer Awards to go with it.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Observer Hall of Fame, which is why this is dumb, right? Like I'm not going to have to. I'm not going to have to argue and scream till I'm blue in the face about like in 2-3 years about whether or not JJ Watt's going to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He won 3 Defensive Player of the Years in 4 years. He's getting in the first ballot. I don't have to worry about it with Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's just weird.
Yeah. I think it's a perfect time to talk about this guy. So, definitely, this is going to be a clip for sure. I think more people should start raising hell kind of on this one, because 26% is embarrassing. Like there's a mental block, I think, going on with him.
And also another part that's weird about it is like, if I remember year to year voting on it, like he went up this year, and this is like the worst year he's had in this 5-year run post WWE.
Yes, he was 13% last year, James, which is even more embarrassing.
He more than doubled his percentage when it's like this is the worst year he's had in the last 5 years. Have people just not been paying attention?
I guess
obviously
not. I guess
but
not.
You get my point.
Yeah. Huh. Bill Goldberg, stuck at 24% yet again. I think his case is dying. He's allegedly going to do a retirement match next year. We'll see how that does, if that gives him some kind of bump. But
Gunther with the 5 stars to get him in there, huh?
That'd be funny.
A 5-star Goldberg match in his 50s.
What would that look like?
Wait, how old is Goldberg? 50 what? Late 50s?
Goldberg got to be late 50s.
Bro, ain't no fucking way.
Let's see. He was like 31 and like
Gunther
97.
Gets a 5-star. First off, ain't no fucking.
He's like 55, maybe 56.
Will Ospreay 2019 Will Ospreay couldn't get a 5-star match at Goldberg right now. Ain't no way. But let's just go with this nonsense and pretend that can happen, right? You got to put Gunther in immediately, right?
Oh yeah. When does he go on the ballot? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'll vote for him. First ballot.
But back to Goldberg. Yeah, man. You might have a point about the thing. I think he's gonna be one of those dudes that ends up sliding to historical.
Like, yeah. It's interesting. Hall and Nash, only 21%.
Never getting in.
Don't think they'll ever get in.
Nope. Never getting in.
Zack Sabre Jr., only 16%. That's an interesting one. Finally wins the IWGP title, maybe like just before the Hall of Fame voting season, or maybe it had already started. We already know this guy should be a work rate candidate. He is in Japan. Maybe he has a chance to rise. Depends how the rest of this title reign goes.
We'll see how this dome match goes.
We'll see how that goes. We'll start there. But he has a lot. This is, I don't know about the historical significance, and the business argument is non-existent. Kind of,
it's non-existent. So
he's strictly a work rate candidate, and his work is polarizing. But you look at Zack Sabre Jr.'s cage match page, and you start tell me when the 7s come in.
Oh, hold on. I haven't even thought about that one before, but I guarantee you it's because there's no way he's not in the hundreds.
I'll say there is, like, not only is there a lot of them, there are a lot of like quality ones, but like, and this guy wrestles like a consistent like schedule where he gets a lot of at bats. Like, it's not like he's doing 58 matches in a year. It's not like he's doing 60 matches. He's doing like 120 matches. So, Seth Rogen mentioned it, with the thinning out of Japan, he might get in through attrition. Yeah, I'm not writing him off this early, essentially, with that 16%.
Rich.
Yeah.
All right. He doesn't get to a 7 until 176.
I guarantee that's better than the likes of a Kenny Omega. I
think that's better than Okada too.
Yeah. Like this is a guy, like, he does not get seen in the same light as Ospreay, Omega, Ishii.
Well, to be fair, at the highest of high levels,
he's not.
But he's kind of like Ishii, where it's like
he stacks them up.
He stacks up 4-star matches as well as anyone that's ever existed. Depending on taste, of course, when it comes to him.
Kenny's at 123. So, what was Sabre 126? And that
176.
No, 176. Yeah. Okay.
That's nuts.
That's what I meant about Sabre getting those at bats. Like, you look at, I want to say that 2018 year, I think Kenny only did 55 matches. Right. So, like, in Zach's case, is it to where his style has allowed him to stack on these quality years with the quantity of matches? So he's gonna, I think when people start pulling these things up, we're gonna be like, all right, man, there's way too many fucking matches on this thing. Right. Ishii at 152.
He's you know what he is? He's like how we talked about Kareem. Like, everybody out here in the 70s was out here on drugs, and Kareem's out here doing yoga. Right? Like, everybody's out here to get their 4 stars. They're doing all types of crazy shit, getting dropped on their neck, hitting each other hard as fuck. And don't be wrong, Sabre does some of that, but Sabre can do his match, 5 days a week if he needed to for a stretch, because it ain't that damaging. He's figured it out. He's smarter than everybody. So that Okada gets to a 7 on cage match at 149.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is an elite metric that has been developed on this show here.
I mean, it's just anecdotal because it's obviously
I
like
know
it's
it
just
don't mean
caveman.
nothing.
Okay,
Look, it don't mean nothing, but
right, right.
it tells you something. Like
It does. It does. You're like, hey man, if you have 100 you a bad motherfucker.
yeah.
Straight up.
Hey, Naito.
Yeah, I don't give a damn about your taste or what you have for somebody. If they have by these groups of if hundreds of people come in and vote on matches, and they give you 8s, and there's been 100 matches to tabulate where you get 8s, you a bad motherfucker, or you probably should just be Observer Hall of Famer without even thinking about it. As far as the whole, did they draw? Did they not draw? It's like, hey man, I don't give a damn if they didn't draw. They one of the coolest motherfuckers that ever existed in the pro wrestling ring, so why are they not in the pro wrestling Hall of Fame?
Tetsuya Naito 86.
So Saber's almost 100, almost got him by 100.
Shingo 120.
Is this the part where we start burying Naito as not one of the elite in the elite era of New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are we doing this segment again?
Man.
Am I gonna have to pull up?
It's just interesting, man. It's just interesting, man. Like,
If I'm gonna have to pull to the cage match and be like, hey man, do you know that statistically speaking, like as far as 8s and above matches, Tetsuya Naito is closer to Sonata than he is to Zack Sabre Jr.? Am I allowed to do that?
Sick. Oh,
is that on here right now? Listen to this.
John Moxley has 90.
And Naito has how many?
86. John Moxley's a Hall of Famer, man.
Rich, do you think it was harder to have great matches in mid 2010s WWE than mid 2010s New Japan Pro Wrestling? Because I think it was harder.
Yeah, a lot of years in WWE style, a lot of them.
That restricted plate wrestling is real. All right, let's see.
Can I get Seth Rollins' number one time for the system? Can we pull that up, chat?
I guess I'll pull it.
I would love to know.
Seth has some Ring of Honor on him, so he's gonna be better than you think it is.
I would love to know. I'm seeing Seth Rollins, my God, in the comment section right now. 66.
Yeah.
This is not a great worker.
This is not a great worker. 66 aces. You are a great worker. I'm sorry. You be an asshole.
This is not.
He's not the greatest worker, but he is a great worker.
He's not like the niggas they think he's like.
Agreed. We've been talking about that ever since he blew his knee out. But yeah.
Roman Reigns 34. Yikes.
Yeah.
What an amazing stat.
It's amazing. It's amazing how far Aura will take you, right?
Yeah.
Subjective Aura. Brewhaven says Seth is not elite. No one said he's elite. Look, he don't want to be elite. He is hugging that W in that E. He ain't never going over there, no matter how bad they mistreat him.
Yeah, man. So I think that's a good place to leave the Observer Hall of Fame talk for this year. If nothing else, gives us some segments that we normally wouldn't have.
Congrats to the inductees, and I'm glad you're in so that we can get you out the way to make more space for people that have cases that for some reason these voters are not listening to. So now that they got their Roman votes out the way, we can get Cody in CM Punk in next year, and then we can see about go back and circle back on Moxley, because this don't make no sense to me, bro.
Yeah, JYD, let's get him in so I could do the rant, Yeah, but we definitely got to start talking about John Moxley and Zack Sabre Jr. We got to, because nah, man, that's it ain't right. It ain't right.
We have come full circle. We are advocating for Zack Sabre Jr. to be the Wrestling Observer Hall of Famer. If you had told us we would have been saying this in 2018 or 19, we would not believed it.
Yeah, Sir Sam says most important thing is getting One Nation Radio vote in this thing. We've been talking about it forever. Yes, I would love to eventually receive a Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame ballot. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I just think we've done a lot of quality work over the 12 years, especially covering this institution also year after year. You know, if it happens, cool. If it doesn't, whatever. Um, but let's talk about AEW